All right, welcome to Catholic Scripture Twisters, episode 18. And in this episode, I want to talk about the actual priesthood of the Roman Catholic Church, since we already went over how it's illegitimate. So let's get into what kind of priesthood this actually is. Now, there's a couple things I want to read here, and I have a book right here with me that I want to read a passage from as well. But we see here the origins of pontiff. Right here it says, the Collegium Pontificum, College of Pontiffs, was the most important priesthood of ancient Rome. This is ancient Rome. This is before Christianity and obviously before the Roman Catholic Church. Okay? The foundation of this sacred college and the office of Pontifex Maximus is attributed to the second king of Rome, Numa Pompilius. Much of what is known about the regal period in Roman history is semi-legendary or mythical. The Collegium presumably acted as advisors to Rex, the king, in religious matters. The Collegium was headed by the Pontifex Maximus, and all the pontifices held their office for life. But the pontifical records of early Rome most likely destroyed when the city was sacked by Gallus in 387 BC. And the earliest accounts of archaic Rome come from the literature of the Republic. Most of it is from the 1st century BC and later. According to the Augustan era historian Livy, Numa Pompilius, a Sabian, devised Rome's system of religious rites, including the manner and timing of sacrifices, the supervision of religious funds, authority over all public and private religious institutions, instruction of the populace in the celestial, and sorry for my mispronouncing of all these words here, celestial and funerary rites, including appeasing the dead, the expiation of prodigies. Numa is said to have founded Roman religion after dedicating an altar on the Aventine Hill to Jupiter Eclecus and consulting the gods by means of augury. Numa wrote down and sealed these religious instructions and gave them to the first Pontifex Maximus, Numa Marcaeus. So here we see that the origin of the pontiff is actually a pagan priest. Pagan heathen priest was known as the Pontifex Maximus in the Roman Empire. Right? Something that you need to really take in here. Right? Because we just went over a little bit of what is said that they did, including appeasing the dead, right? And doing all these things. They mix this religion of Rome with Christianity, forming the Roman Catholic Church. That's why it is so anti-biblical. Yeah, it'll take little things of the Bible. Some of the things that it takes is true, and it uses those. But a lot of it takes and twists it. And then a whole lot of it just completely ignores and tosses out the window and replaces it with their own pagan heathen doctrines that they call the church traditions or the traditions of the early church fathers, and basically use that to rule out the Word of God. But before I go on to this next link here, I got this book here from Clarence Larkin. His book on Revelation here. And in this chapter, it has to do with Revelation 17. And the chapter is called The Seven Dooms. So that's where I'm going to read this paragraph here. He writes, the city of Babylon continued to be the seat of Satan until the fall of the Babylonian and Medo-Persian empires, when he shifted his capital to Pergamos in Asia Minor, where it was in John's day, right? Where John mentions this in Revelation chapter 2, verses 12 and 13. When Attalus, the pontiff and king of Pergamos, died in 133 BC, he bequeathed the headship of the Babylonian priesthood to Rome. When the Etruscan came to Italy from Lydia, the region of Pergamos. They brought with them the Babylonian religion and rites. They set up a pontiff who was head of the priesthood. Later, the Romans accepted this pontiff as their civil ruler. Julius Caesar was made pontiff of the Etruscan order in 74 BC. In 63 BC, he was made supreme pontiff of the Babylonian order, thus becoming heir to the rights and titles of Attalus, pontiff of Pergamos, who had made Rome his heir by will. Thus the first Roman emperor became the head of the Babylonian priesthood, and Rome the successor of Babylon. The emperors of Rome continued to exercise the office of supreme pontiff until 376 AD, when the emperor Gratian, for Christian reasons, refused it. The bishop of the church at Rome, Damasus, was elected to the position. He had been bishop 12 years, having been made bishop in 366 AD through the influence of the monks of Mount Carmel, a college of Babylonian religion originally founded by the priest of Jezebel. So in 378 AD, the head of the originally founded by the priest of I'm sorry, I read that sentence twice. So in AD 378, the head of the Babylonian order became the ruler of the Roman Church. Thus Satan united Rome and Babylon in one religious system. And that's exactly what we see, because even the Catholic Church will claim that when Peter is addressing Babylon, that he's addressing Rome. This is not something that is new. Even the Catholic Church says this. So you got all of this evidence showing you that the Romans were following the Babylonian religion. They were persecuting the Christians. And eventually they realized that they couldn't beat them. And they were actually falling apart. Probably because of God's judgment. They were being split up and broken apart. Where you end up getting the East and Western factions of the Roman Empire there. So they had to do something. So they decided to join with the Christians. And the Christians, basically a lot of them had Stockholm Syndrome. And they welcomed the peace. And they ended up joining and mixing with the Roman Empire, eventually creating Roman Catholicism. And it's going to get worse here in the near future, as it looks like the rapture is soon. A bit off subject, but it's something I should say if I got some Catholics watching this, that after the rapture, the true church is going to be gone. And a lot of people are going to end up being flooded into the Roman Church because they were never really true Christians anyway. And when this happens, the Roman Catholic Church is going to have power again, and they're going to get drunk off the blood of the saints again. And we're going to see a lot of people being martyred. But eventually, the Antichrist is going to destroy the Roman Catholic Church, because it's the whore that sits upon the beast. I'm just putting these things out because chances are I'm not going to actually convince any of you Catholics with my words. No matter how eloquent I am, how simply I put things, with all the evidence, I know you don't care. You know, you root for your team, born Catholic, die Catholic kind of attitude. I know how that is. My dad was a Catholic, and that was his attitude. Never really talked about anything, didn't want to get into it, because he knew it was all bullshit, but he didn't want to reject it. It was weird, and I know how Catholics are. I grew up with them. So anyway, I figure I'll tell you how things are going to be in the near future, so that when you see it, then maybe you'll believe, and then maybe you would actually take these words in and be like, okay, I don't want to go to hell. Right? I should have taken that free ticket. But when that time comes after the rapture, you're going to have to be martyred if you want to go to heaven, because then it has to do with your works. Catholic's all about works, right? Which shouldn't be a problem, right? Go get martyred. Be martyred by your own church. But anyway, I wanted to just go over a couple things in this article here. Thought it was just some interesting stuff here, talking about how the bishops in Rome were trying to put themselves as a superior order of bishopry. I know how this Holy Roman Pope Emperor started. By 800 AD, Pope Leo III, crowned as Charlemagne, he was given the title of Holy Roman Emperor, to the dismay of the Eastern Orthodox, who also claimed apostolic succession. Right? So we see the Christians have already fallen away and ended up mixing with Rome. They basically did what the Jews did and said, we have no king but Caesar. That's exactly what the Christians did. Here it says, the only proof the Pope is the vicar of Christ is found in the Catechism. There is no evidence, and it's true, because they like to quote Matthew 16 here to say that Peter is somehow the vicar of Christ on earth, when it doesn't say that at all. It doesn't even say he's the foundation of the church. It says that Peter's confession, I think that's what it's actually saying here, Peter's confession that Jesus is the Christ, the Son of the living God, is the rock that Peter's built upon, along with all the other believers, which is what Peter actually talks about in 1 Peter chapter 2. He says that just as he is a stone, we're all lively stones and a royal priesthood that's built upon the cornerstone, Jesus Christ. Yeah, I have a whole video that really gets into that. I'm not sure what else is in here, but I saw a couple things, so I figured, I'd bring it up. Apostolic succession claimed by the papacy is an assumption based on Matthew 16 or the Praetorian theory. Scriptures do not support apostolic succession. Delegating responsibilities is totally different. Tertullian called the bishops transmitters of the apostolic seed. Peter has no primacy over the other apostles. Yeah, this is obvious. If you read the Bible, you wouldn't put Peter up as the head of the church. Right? I mean, right after he supposedly becomes the foundation of the church, Jesus rebukes Satan out of them, because Peter tries to tell Jesus, with his supposed authority as Pope, apparently, that Jesus is not going to go to Jerusalem and suffer those things that he suffered. And Jesus goes, get behind me, Satan, because you desires the things of men and not of God. And then Peter ends up denying Jesus 3 times. Right? But anyway, I'm just seeing what other stuff in here. Oh yeah, see, he even talks to you about the pontiff. Maximus is actually a pagan supreme priest. So this seems like it's a pretty good article here. The Pope title used 900 years after the apostles died. Yeah, the pontiff was always a pagan priest. Peter was never pontiff. Pontifex Maximus. He was never a vicar of Christ. But, yeah, I think I said everything I wanted to say. I was just going through this to see if there's any other interesting points to bring up. But I figured I would point out how this right here is not Christian. Jesus gave up heaven, came into this world, and lived as a jobless, homeless man. And this guy supposedly taken a vow of celibacy and poverty is sitting here decked with very fine clothing, with gold on this crown, in a throne that looks very comfortable, with a bunch of men carrying him. This is not how Jesus lived. That's not the example he gave us. That alone should, you know, snap you out of it. Light bulb should be going off, but with a lot of you, you don't care. Something's wrong with you. You care too much about what others think of you or something. You don't give two shits what God thinks of you. And that ain't right. You need to get that straightened out. But anyway, that's what they did. They twisted the scriptures and mixed in their Babylonian religion into it. And then you pooped out the Roman Catholic Church. But anyway, thanks for watching and take care.